What is the dark web? The dark web is an internet environment that can be reached only through other client applications, such as Tor or 12p. It is an encrypted network where the names and addresses of users are shielded by cryptography, which routes user data across multiple servers worldwide, rendering monitors users incredibly challenging. The dark website's privacy renders it a sophisticated and illicit application. Unfortunately, it is impossible to get exposure in suspicious places. It takes specialized expertise, connections, certain channel to secrete databases and technologies to track certain channels of data abuse. This certainly doesn't suggest that the deep web is actually important because it is not available by a confidential search engine. For instance, email or Facebook accounts may come under this category as they need authentication to access the material. The most popular data is boring or standard. Although certain deep and dark websites are useful outlets, you need to know what you want, or else time and money may be easily lost. The deep network is not just a platform for narcotics and other unlawful things. It's not just far. The deep website is largely harmless and incredibly necessary to preserve our privacy. The daily life, it is important. Can the dark deep web be used for good? Anonymity, is the best aspect of the dark web. It's best created because of that. It's been created because of that. Citizens in authoritarian countries use the dark network without being known. To reach news sources forbidden by their government. Key news media are provided with dark web intelligence portals for private correspondence between whistleblowers. And also it can be used, for example, if you're in a country that doesn't allow you to have access to internet and doesn't allow you to access family who isn't in the same country as you, that person can try to access the dark web and the deep web to try to communicate to their family members, because in some countries it's very legal to have that kind of access, and there are a lot of penalties to that person if they get caught. And I won't exactly go into detail what those penalties are because they're kind of gruesome. But you can only imagine what it is. What is the dark web? The good and bad of the internet's most private corner. You may have learned that the dark web is a spot for drug dealers and hitmen. That's true, but more than that is there to it. The dark web is an important part needing special software and not just search engines to connect. It has even greater anonymity. The commonly accessible parts of the World Wide Web. This allows the dark web a place for illicit enterprise, misappropriation, and offensive content. The well-known example of this is the emergence and fall of the Silk Road trade for illicit narcotics. Also, whenever you hear news articles or like people getting information like you wouldn't expect them to have, like how would you find that on that one person? Like for politics, for example, all of a sudden years later after that person is probably grown and kind of learned from their mistakes, or like they regret doing these things, and all of a sudden like some like deep secrets get unearthed and broadcasted everywhere, and that it's unfortunate. Sometimes it's a very good thing because it may be like something that's occurring at the moment, but also it can also, if their person has changed, they're actually a pretty decent person, they just did something bad in the past. And sometimes people do bad things with good intentions, and I'm not justifying doing stuff that is illegal, but sometimes there are certain things that I guess are understandable. Anyway. Yet, despite the frequent reporting of the newspapers, relatively few grasp the actual workings of the dark web. For starters, certain people would be stunned to hear that the New York and Facebook are now holding websites on the dark web. The dark web isn't dark because it's bad. It's dark because it's the only place on the internet that offers a bit of privacy. In this article, in the article I had looked up, I've quoted this, they'll explain how that works, what actually happens on the dark web, and how you can check it out for yourself. You can break down the web into 3 parts: the clear web, the deep web, and the dark web. The clear web is the internet most of us are familiar with. Its pages are searchable in Google, but makes up just a small percentage of all the content on the internet, as I said in the beginning. The deep web contains items such as financial records, web archives, and secure sites with passwords. Any section of the internet is the dark web. A tiny section of the internet is the dark web. It operates over the current internet network, but it is a virtual platform without similar resources that cannot be reached. That explains why the deep network is also named the secret site. Deep web versus dark web. What's the difference? Often the words deep web and dark web, though are not the same, deep web includes something that's not extended or indexed on the internet and is only available by a search engine such as Google. Deep web content involves something behind a paywall or requires authentication to sign in credentials. It also includes any content that have been excluded from indexing by its members. And also, if you're someone who has access or can access the deep and dark web, you'll kind of find that a lot of things, instead of it ending in .com, .org, or .net, it'll end in .onion, or in it's kind of funny because there's this onion site that's like fake news, and everyone knows it's fake news except for those people who actually believe it, but it's like .onion, and also like stuff like that changes, like the what's that? I guess like the rhythm, not the